Hey friends, welcome back to the Bald Booktuber. We are a few days into June, so this video is already late, but it is one of my favorite videos to make where we talk about what I'm going to be reading, what my plans are for the month. So we're going to do it even though some of it is probably already outdated. So here we go. So in the month of June, first and foremost, I have a couple carryovers that I need to complete that I started in May but did not finish. So first and foremost among those is Lord of Emperors. This is book 2 of the Sarantine Mosaic. This I'm quite enjoying it, but for whatever reason, it hasn't been all that bingeable for me. So I'll read a couple chapters, I'll love it, and then I'll decide to read something else for a bit. So I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's something to do with Kay's writing style that isn't 100% working for me. I love his prose. I think it's beautiful writing, but the bouncing around between perspectives and that kind of stuff isn't my favorite. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means for me, it isn't something I'm loving as much. He'll introduce a character. We'll get to know that character. I'll be having a great time with that character. And then he'll completely bounce to somebody else, either new or we know a little bit about and get to learn some more about. I will say what I've read has been outstanding. It's on its way to a 5 Stanley nod, but for whatever reason, I'm having trouble sinking in and just focusing on it, if that makes sense. But I'll get that done this month. Looking forward to it. Secondarily, in terms of what's carried over, I have Dark Age by Pierce Brown. This is book 5 of Red Rising, the second book in the second series of books, the sequel quartet, as it were. Loving it. I'm about a quarter of the way in. It was my favorite book the first time around in the series. It's looking to be the same this time around. There's a lot going on. I love all the political stuff. I love Ephraim's arc thus far. I'm really enjoying it. Darrow is mentally conflicted and really starting to see some of the consequences of the decisions that he's made in the past, which I really enjoy. I love a conflicted character. So everything is working for me. We haven't gotten to the very darkest parts of the book yet. We've had dark parts, but we haven't gotten to the darkest parts, which I am mentally and emotionally preparing myself for, because I know what's coming and it is pretty rough. Pretty rough. If you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. After that, I am going to be rereading, although it's been a long time ago and I don't know if I was in a great spot to read it the first time around. This will be part of a read-along. This is going to be Shamans Crossing by my favorite author, Robin Hobb. This is her Soldier Son trilogy, which is not part of the Realm of the Elderlings. It's a separate world entirely, and it's just a trilogy, just a tight 3-book trilogy. I can't remember if I actually read all 3 books the first time around. I know that I read the first one. I know that I at least started the second one. May have finished it, I'm not sure. So that tells you all you need to know about calling this a reread. I'm kind of just considering it a brand new thing and not having read it before. But I am buddy reading it with some of my favorite people on BookTube and some of the very best Robin Hobb content creators you will ever find. And those are folks like Derry, who in my mind is the walking encyclopedia of Robin Hobb knowledge. She's who I go to if I have a question or I want something clarified, anything to do with the Realm of the Elderlings universe. I think she's the most knowledgeable person about that world other than Robin Hobb herself. We have my very good friend Madison from Madison Goodyear. She has read Realm of the Elderlings now in its entirety and can't get enough of it. And this will be a first-time read for her, so I'm looking forward to her thoughts. We have Jake Bishop, again, an expert when it comes to all things Robin Hobb. It's his favorite author. He hasn't read Soldier Son yet either, so that'll be fun. And we have Josh over at Red Fury Books. He completed Realm of the Elderlings last year and has had a part of his life missing and not having a hot book to look forward to, so he'll be reading with us. Obviously, anybody else that wants to read along can. We'd love to hear all of your discussion. We will probably have some discussion of it both on Mike's server and on the Grimoire Discord. So looking forward to those discussions. If any of these folks would be willing, I'd love to have you on my channel and we can talk about these books further. I will also be starting the Prince of Nothing trilogy by R. Scott Baker. I have read the first book before, but it has been a long time ago after that book first came out, and that is The Darkness That Comes Before. I didn't proceed further in that series or into the follow-up quartet, but I'll be reading all of it, all 7 books, both the Prince of Nothing and the Aspect Emperor series. Second Apocalypse, I believe, is what the overarching series is called. I've been looking forward to this one for a while, so it's time. So no more putting it off. I really enjoyed Darkness That Comes Before the first time that I read it. That would have been about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. Probably a little bit longer than that. I can't remember what year it came out, but I haven't touched it since. So I'm looking forward to that reread. I've forgotten much of it. I will hopefully be doing it immersively. The audio is not WhisperSync enabled, which I don't like, but I do own both the Kindle and the audio versions of it, so I'll probably be doing some of that. All right, so those are the books that for sure I will get to. Now we have, I guess, some possibilities, and I don't know that I can promise any of these, but I will get to some of them. Maybe first and foremost, Philip Chase's next book, Dr. Philip Chase. His next book, The Prophet of Edan, which is book 2 in his Edan trilogy, comes out, I believe it's June 21st. So my hope is to get to that one in June. That may bleed into July, I'm not sure. But I quite enjoyed the first book, and I expect to enjoy this one even more now that we know who the characters are, a little bit about the world. I tend to enjoy books more as the series goes along, so I'm expecting that to be the case here. I also am hopeful that I will get to A Dance with Dragons. This is book 5 of course, A Song of Ice and Fire, my favorite series of all time. I am hopeful that I can get to this. I don't know when our discussions will be, probably sometime in July and or August, but I am anxious to get to it. It's been several years since I did my last reread of it, and I remember quite enjoying it then, so I'm expecting to here as well. Additionally, I would like to get to Elric Book 1 by Michael Moorcock. I have not read any Elric. I've not read anything by Michael Moorcock, and I would like to start there. I have the audio and the Kindle versions of the bind-ups they've been doing of late. They've done those very nice hardcovers. I'm not getting the physical copies, but they look very nice. I see them at Barnes & Noble all the time. But I'm hoping to at least read that first story of Elric, which I think is about 160 pages in that bind-up. It's maybe a third of that book or something. But if I'm remembering correctly, it's like 3 novellas within that bind-up. So I'm planning to read at least the first one, get a sense of Moorcock's writing, get a sense of if Elric's going to be a character that resonates for me or not. It is one of the pillars of fantasy, to my understanding, so it's time to get to that. And then I keep kicking the can down the road, but I need to get to Matthew Corbett, the books Cardinal Black and King of Shadows. These are the 2 most recently published books in the series. I love this series. Of course, Robert McCammon, read by Eduardo Ballerini. All of it is fantastic, but for whatever reason, I've not gotten to these final 2 installments. I believe there is one more book in the series that he's currently working on, so I'd like to be ready for that when it comes. But overall, I just miss Matthew Corbett, so I want to get back to that world. I want to get back to those books and see where we go from there. And then I guess the last thing that is a maybe, Mike from Mike's Book Reviews and Philip from Philip Chase are reading the Rainwild Chronicles now for the very first time. So they will be reading Dragon Keeper in the month of June. it would be a reread for me, obviously. It is by far my least favorite of the books within Realm of the Elderlings. Doesn't make it a bad book. Doesn't mean I dislike it. But it is the only one that I rate under 4 Stanley nods. So that gives you an idea. Both A, how I feel about that series, and B, how I feel about that book in particular. So I might reread that with them. I don't know yet. If I do, I'll probably kind of zip through it and just get a sense, reorient myself within that world and with those characters. But over the course of the next few months, I'll be taking on Rainwild Chronicles, which is by far my least favorite part of Realm of the Elderlings, but I do like it more as the series goes along. So, and there are definitely events and things within it that are very helpful when reading Fitz and the Fool, which is my all-time favorite trilogy. So, worth reading, just not one I'm necessarily looking forward to rereading or will prioritize. If I get to it, I do. But those are pretty much my reading plans in the month of June. I would love to hear what all of you will be reading. Again, I know this video is a little bit late, but hopefully you are all already working on your June. I know I am. I'm about a quarter of the way into, about 30% into Dark Age, and I'm maybe 15 to 20% into Lord of Emperors, so I have to get those 2 completed before I can move on to some of these other things that I talked about. But hope you're all enjoying. I'm very appreciative that you tuned in. We're getting closer to 900 subs on the channel, which is getting closer to 1,000. So I appreciate all the support. Thank you all so much. And thank you for watching. And as always, publication order always, my friends.